Chile here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Jupiter hour. Sol day. Full moon. The moon has just exited the full moon degree, which was 13 degrees Leo. And ascendant ruled by Lilith. Ruled conjoining Lilith. And midheaven 14 degrees Virgo. Mercury is 21 degrees Aquarius. Let's talk about April because there is a certain storyline that I see unfolding with this full moon. And the big energy reading that I got, and by the way, when I talk about energy reading or channeling, it's not consent, okay? Channeling is a sense, like smelling is a sense. Channeling is not consent. Perception is not consent. So to make that very clear, I think I addressed it in a previous episode. There are some, I don't know, the church think it has an authority over channeling or the senses. It doesn't. And then there are people or intelligences that try to get people to develop psychic abilities to misuse that. They never get true cohesion. So, again, sovereignty. And April is the chapter on the story of sovereignty because we're going to have a stellium in Aries. Now, this full moon, what I received very strongly is that certain people that thought either somebody is a sex worker, but by the way, there's no such thing. Extortion calls go by torture. So either they thought somebody is a sex worker and they found out they weren't, or they thought that there is such a thing, sex work, and they found out there isn't. Okay, being extortion cult informed, um, and you can listen to the testimonies out there. You can listen to Annika Lucas. You can listen to people that talk about the structure of those things. There is no okay, and they would always launder it under certain type of, whether it's umbrella organizations, um, and particularly those who say nothing without us, nothing about us without us, but are actually supporting rape and trafficking and in praxis traffic people. Alandra Mantauk, okay, his interview with Annika Lucas. Watch Alandra Mantauk. His mother, he was supposed to be an Epstein. His mother was some sort of a sex work advocacy in favor of supposedly sex workers. Nothing. He was raped and had to rape and was used for breeding, um, and his mother was trafficked. So that is something important. I don't know why it arrived on this full moon. So somebody had a full reveal that somebody is not a sex worker or that there's no such thing as sex work. And kind of like they only saw it now. Um, and somebody might have consecutively tried to um, either make somebody be that or something of that sort. Um, Again, that's I guess Saturn at the end of Pisces creating reality checks on those issues. But now let's talk about April. Entire April has a huge stellium. It begins with a new moon in Libra, which is ruled by Venus in her home sign and applying to square Pluto. Um, the full moon in Libra is in the middle decan of Libra, where the odd scale evens. And the odd scale begins with people harloting themselves, and in the middle decan, it evens, which means they no longer harlot themselves, or the people that were, harloting themselves is an extreme expression. But with the first decan in Libra, we usually put our best foot forward. We usually try to, refine what is our look, our appearance, the etiquette, and so on and so forth. Second decan, we expect that we expect to be treated well. Okay, if in the first decan of Libra we make sure we have the right outfit, the right etiquette, the right this, the right that, or that we in diplomatic relation respecting the culture, we second decan of Libra we expect to be honored, to be respected as well. And Venus in Taurus has to do with embodiment. There's something very relational, can also be diplomatic. Venus in Taurus is basically aligned with the embodied senses of Venus. The first decan of Taurus is the Taurian decan, where it's what we sense. So whenever something crosses through Libra, there is always the questions: is it piss or is it squirt? And a Taurian has a very simple answer. How does it smell? How does it taste? and and it also knows by that to tell whether something is embodied, or whether something is not aligned. The other polarity of Taurus is Scorpio, where the deep transformations happen, and Taurus just sees that through: is the body aligned? Is the body engaged? Is it an embodied experience? And this is something that is squaring or applying to square Pluto, with Venus being in her home sign. So it looks like Venus is going to have something to teach Pluto. That's basically what this new moon uh, seems to be about. And literally the entire month we have, as of April 9, Mars ingresses into Aries. April 15, Mercury enters, and we also have April 17, new moon in Aries. So I'm just going to show you from the new moon perspective, how does Aries look like. And right after basically this month, February, we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and the eclipse that is in Saturn's sign. Right off the bat, we open with a majestic crescendo into a whole new world. Um, and um, and April gives us the month of, basically the month of the ingress of the sun to Aries, the sign of exaltation of the sun. We have an entire stellium in Aries. Okay, so while March is having its own story, so to speak, April is really reminding us that Saturn Neptune weren't beginning something that doesn't have a trajectory. And so everything is going to be in Aries. Everything is going to be accentuating on the sign of sovereignty. Both the full moon has the sun in Aries, and the new moon is in 28 degrees Aries, 27 degrees Aries, sextile in Uranus, conjoining 28, right? Sextile in Uranus, conjoining Chiron, conjoining Aries in Aries. Now, everybody's Aries house in April is going to be incredibly active. Um, for the entire month. So, all eyes on Aries. Particularly challenging it would be for the people with Taurus ascendant, because that's in the 12th house. And the good thing about it is that many things you didn't know, you will not be able to not know anymore. Okay? Because the 12th house is what we didn't know. And when something is going through the 12th house, it activates things that we didn't know. Or it's coming to show us things. So the dream state, y'all Taurian ascendants won't be getting too much sleep in Aries, or you would be having very vivid dreams. Again, Saturn in the 12th house could be protective, but this is going to definitely not allow to be ignorant of the big mistake. Another ascendant that's been affected is Scorpio ascendant, where Aries is your sixth house. So the sixth house of health, physical health, um, uh, can be open enemies, but this is very associated with health. Um, very active month. You won't be able to ignore any health issues. Okay, that's it can give an ample time to begin to work to correct any health issues that were laying dormant. But you also might be incredibly busy. Okay, it might be scheduled to launch something, or something is due. With Saturn, it often means a deadline of some sort, and you might be producing something that is of mythical importance, even with Neptune in your sixth house. Ascendant Virgo, you folks have it in your eighth house, which means everything you've swiped under the rug will no longer be able to be swiped under the rug. Okay? For example, NATO organization has it in their eighth house with Chiron moon and with Chiron and the new moon conjoining Lilith and Rahu. So it's going to be a big NATO month as well, particularly from the perspective of budget. Um, One of the declarations I heard by Secretary General Rutte, um, which is Europe is dreaming that it can protect itself without the US. So this can absolutely be the type of conversations during April in NATO. And again, I'm not standing behind this declaration. I don't know the truth value of this declaration, and I don't know the truth value of this declaration to April. I'm just giving a concrete example of how Aries presence can look like for a Virgo ascendant people and organizations. Um, when it comes to wartime, Aries can be new wars, but it can also be ending of wars with Saturn, with Mars closing a cycle with Saturn. Um, Chiron and the new moon with Aries, ladies, gents, and hermaphrodites. Okay, it accentuates on um, the everythingness to do with those topics. With Mars royal degree Aries in the new moon, sextiling Pluto, we might begin with things being still hidden, but we can't trust that they will stay hidden. So anything that needs to be classified begins with being classified. It begins with an agreement with Mars and Pluto that can definitely denote classified action by royal armies. Um, but we can't count on that to remain classified. Definitely not with the presence of Neptune. Mars is moving on from the sextile, which means that we begin with something being classified, um, but the fact that Neptune is there is a telltale that we're going to have to surrender. When is something going to both be declassified, or up until when something can be hidden? Um, so this is basically an entire month of Aries themes. Aries, sovereignty, innovation, the head of, the founder of, the cornerstone, um, a new beginning, anything new, necessity and invention. Okay? Um, real estate, banking, um, yes, the blood, sexuality, drive, or sex drive, the genitals themselves, the face as well. Okay, Mars rules the genitals, but Aries rules the head. Um, physiognomy is going to be, okay, the physiognomy of the face, the skull structure with Saturn is going to be kind of like a big issue. Um, those are the things that I can think about, and patient sovereignty. Okay, Aries is where we self-sustain. Neptune is to do with medicine. So it has to do with patient sovereignty as an inherent part of the healing or the recovery or health. Um, and this is, yeah, this is something that is just an ongoing theme for entire Neptune in Aries. Um, military hospitals, okay, there might be having certain developments or certain events um, to do with those. Um, oh, brotherhoods. Okay, again, the wound. Chiron Aries can be the wound around all the things that I just mentioned. Um, I'm not saying it goes all the way to like war crimes, but definitely if I think about NATO's chart, Lilith is up there with Rahu. and Chiron is about, and Lilith is sexual sovereignty, and Chiron is a wound. Um, so there is a wound that might be addressed. They won't be able to swipe under the rug any violations that were done, and while they might be able to keep things secret or to consolidate that in secret, um, this is only the beginning of the new moon. Okay, so they probably, when Mars goes over that point and meets Chiron, which is going to happen in May. Yes, I think it's happening already in May. This is where we are absolutely going to see that names Mars um, might come up, or there may be a wound around the name, or if it is the correct identity or not. So those things are definitely things that can happen. My prediction with names and names lists is very much being borne out. We see channels like Sean Edward, Heretics, Andrew Gold. Okay, so definitely those issues are being borne out. Again, I'm not talking about those who try to force people to say names. I'm talking about people that organically approach these people and speak up and speak with names. Um, as an astrologer, I take a look at that from a standpoint of Mars rules names, Neptune rules leaking, Neptune rules something going viral. So Saturn is lists, so lists of names going viral, but also something present in its missing. So what names missing from the list, or what lists of names is missing. Again, we've been seeing that with the Saturn Neptune all the way from Pisces, um, and is still ongoing. Um, Now, when we talk about, okay, so we have Uranus. Uranus and Venus enter Gemini. Venus conjoins Uranus in 29 degrees Taurus. Jupiter is 18 degrees, Mars is 11 degrees. So, sorry to spoil the party, but this is the last Venus-Uranus conjunction that we have, and it's supposed to sort of remedy an opposition between the Moon and Pluto. Um, so, um, does it signify divorce or does it signify new beginning? If it signifies new beginning, those relations are going to be liberating from situations to do with toxic relational beliefs polluting the water. So make of it what you want. And something like a suicide mission, because Mars is in its home sign, a suicide mission to be one's own authentic self or self-assertion, because Mars would be suicidal about Aries, which is being themselves. That can have a gender connotation, and that can also mean that this is the final liberation from anything that has been obstructing life energy. But with this context, it looks more like a divorce. For those that something new starts, is probably to liberate you, which will end up in separation rather than to create a union. Again, I'm not saying that there cannot be other cases, but something really, really The only other case I can think of is, I don't know, people uniting to fight the cloning project. I have no personal points in 29 degrees Taurus. So, yeah, I mean, and then she thinks about something and surprises herself. Um, so, anyway, it's not the time to tie the knot, so to speak. when, not with this degree Jupiter or with this degree Mars. Now, as Uranus ingresses to Gemini, it's going to meet Sedna, and it's still going to be with Venus. So it's minerals time. It's um, um, yeah, and this happens 26 April. The moon is squaring Uranus upon the ingress, applying to Regulus. Transportation is going to be unusual with Uranus. I remember the first, upon the ingress, I was taking the bus and then there was an accident, so the bus had to take another road. And I was just seeing the city from a perspective of a tourist, which was kind of nice. Not the accident, um, but that unusual diverting of the direction. So Uranus is unusual. Mercury, Gemini is diverting the attention, and this is basically something that can be refreshing change. A lot of people are going to enjoy technology for a change, and or be interested in those mythical cities of the future. Or Uranus in Gemini. Gemini is playful and technological, and Uranus is liberating. So, well, the first decan doesn't concern itself with right and wrong. Only in the second term, um, then people are going to be even excited, and it can be surprising. It can be the very people that warned us about technology. It's kind of like the person that didn't want a cat. I was like, oh, that thing can do that as well. Oh, that's so cool. Um, Particularly be forewarned if there is a technology that you have been postponing using. Um, like I know I have not been using AI. Uranus Gemini is going to get us like little children excited about technology. Um, it's kind of the internet.com, okay? Think about Neptune ingressing into Aquarius, and we had the internet.com. This is another one, but it's going to be a different type of technology. It can be interactive technology, it can be um, Mercury is in the sign of Aries upon the ingress, and Mars at its home sign. Of course, it can also be military technology, but new technology. We're going to be excited about new technology. And mind you, it's going to be the people you least predict to be excited about new technology. Um, so that can be the people that preached, all the people that enjoyed the embodiment and nature of Uranus in Taurus are suddenly going to be as excited about refining rare earth minerals or something. And now, this is also Civil War o'clock, and it's also labor union o'clock. Um, like I said, there was actually a rebellion of miners. I don't remember where, but it was actually a rebellion of miners. We're probably scheduled to have another one. Uranus rules who rebels, and in Taurus, it's like women. And um, and in Gemini, it's children and people in the city, and civil war, like people rebelling, social groups or society against the society. Um, but it also means that people are going to be rebelling with technology and rebelling technology. And sometimes rebelling technology is done with technology, particularly when we talk about warfare situations. But um, people might even be enjoying games or computer games. It's going to be the people that we least. It's going to be like a person that never took a computer game or that hasn't played a computer game since childhood suddenly becomes, uh, um, enthralled with developing computer games or something like that, or with a new computer game. Um, more things to do with Gemini, math and numbers, numerics, astrology itself, but from the playful aspect. The gamification is probably going to have a huge. Those who do not know the field of gamification, my God, when Uranus was in my second house, I tried to do that on cleanliness, and it was fun. It wasn't helping too much, but but it was fun because I basically designed games for myself, and um, and that returned me to my childhood. But I only understand that now. In childhood, I used to do such things and invent games, and I did not know that this field invent. I used to invent stuff as a child, um, in my mind. A lot of these things I would later see, like shoes that have this, puffy texture. The people walk like on clouds, and later I would see the actual shoes like that. Um, yeah, many other things. Flying houses that use storm energy, um, high flying disc, high flying disc, and so on and so forth. So yeah, Uranus is going to ingress to Gemini. Meet Sedna. Sedna. Wow, Sedna. We're probably going to completely. I think what Sedna is aiming to is the trafficking behind certain industries and food industries. And this is where Sedna is going to call for a different type of food sovereignty. Okay, is something I've been receiving because I put a snack next to Sedna altar, and I've been constantly getting something I was not able to eat from that snack. And I'm like, okay, that is annoying. That's not a way to show that to me. That, and then it was like, wait a second, there's something here to do with food. And Sedna is about minerals and remineralizing. Um, but I was shown perhaps the involvement in robotization of people to do with the industry of that particular food. Um, Awesome factory. I don't know. Um, so yeah, we're probably going to be connecting a lot of things to do with food and the corruption that was around food. Um, and Uranus is probably going to expose a lot of facets that we didn't know about Sedna and Sedna's story, and everything that she rules, whether it's minerals, the sea mammals. Um, okay, she's an altar for actually loving love. Um, but also having a tribe being completely deprived of food because they trafficked women. Okay, it's yeah, it's ooh. Okay. Like I said, sovereignty. So we touched on the lunations. We touched on basically the fact that the entire month is going to be a huge stellium of, of Aries. And then Sun ingresses to Taurus to square Pluto. And Sun squares Pluto upon Uranus ingress. Um, so we're going to have a T square, not a T square, we're going to have um, Uranus squaring the moon, or moon squaring Uranus, and the Sun squaring Pluto, with Venus already in Gemini, Mercury in Aries. So Sun squaring Pluto, Sun is beginning to separate from the square to Pluto upon the ingress. It means that the last hours of Uranus, or the last days of Uranus in Taurus, are accompanied by a big power struggle, and it can even be around visibility of women, or what women wear, the visibility of clothes of women, because it's Venus sign, so it could be clothes, but it's also a royal degree. Um, and maybe it could point out to a power relation of the Shah and Khamenei again, because I think about women clothing is kind of like Iran. Like people are going to expect the Shah's son to retrieve to the liberal Iran, not to the Iran of the Shah before Khamenei. and 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 that can be, again, I'm not saying it's that story, but definitely royal degrees monarchy, and Venus sign is clothing, and Venus is also in the sign of Mercury, which is kind of like the industrial clothing. Okay, so there is a power struggle between the royalty and something here with Pluto that is also on the royal degree, with Saturn in the 8th house. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, there are other things that could be arising there. Um, oh, but that dress. Shirley, don't talk about cloning and genitals. Don't talk about cloning and genitals. Or men and women in dresses and men in. um, anyway, yeah. So, big power struggle. Sun Pluto are kind of like an ego death. But this is around royal degree and can have the clothing. Venus in degree of Venus is the clothing of women. And Mercury in on or Osiris, and there's this picture of a lady in a dress with a penis. Um, and I kind of think that there's going to be something about that. I don't know why or in what context. Um, and look at Jupiter in this toxic 18 degree. Yeah, I have no idea what's up, but that's something that is kind of a part of April. Um, yes, that's pretty much what I have to say. I don't like Jupiter being 18 degrees upon the ingress or the Sun square Pluto. Um, Venus, though, is actually applying to trine Pluto. So there's something here. Venus applying to trine Pluto. Vulcan, I don't know, okay? um, this is a deacon of Gemini. Yes, it is. No, 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 no. This is a deacon of Gemini. This is a deacon of Gemini that has to do with form. And it's a deacon, it is associated with the wish to be loved regardless of one's form. And Venus is actually trining Pluto, applying to trine Pluto. So there's something actually kind of, maybe something is exposed, but it's actually loved regardless of its form. Um, and that can be one expression of that. Um, and this is and the challenge is that whether it's wrong or right, okay, it's the first decan, which means whether it's wrong or right. Okay, something is liked. Venus and Gemini can be liking. Something is liked regardless of its form, whether it's wrong or right. Okay, so that can denote at a lot of challenges that we meet at the second term of Gemini. Um, but it can definitely be curating to um, that which fears to not be liked because of its form. or be liked only because of its form. Um, but then there is still the whether it's wrong or right. It's kind of like something is liked. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Um, it can be very healing for people that needed to hear that they are liked anyway, but it can also be quite the challenge because, how should I say that? Um, because Venus rules values. Okay? Um, and that can be that somebody is liked irrespective of their values as well. And that is, which, like I said, it's not about tying the knot, it's about just an occurrence um, that can have its own healing um, essence. Mercury is also about the details, so it can be even a detail that somebody likes. Like I said, can be very healing for folks. Um, Particularly with that trine to Pluto. So, but with this one, we really run the risk of having a certain affair that is, whether it's wrong or right. Okay? Um, and then it comes to liberate us about toxic beliefs about relations or toxic beliefs that pollute the water. This is Jupiter in the sign of Cancer here. Um, so, yep, this is April. This is April. Um, More interesting stuff that happened here, other than the lunations which we talked about. Um, Everything going into Aries, Venus, Uranus, which we talked about. Everything going through Neptune and Saturn. Neptune is already 2 degrees at this point. Do not forget that Neptune and Saturn will accompany us throughout 2026. So the fact that Neptune is crossing the 0 and 1 degree, what seems to be so soon, we're not done with that until 2027. Okay? So there's going to be a retrograde to Neptune, there's going to be another retrograde to Saturn. Um, they're definitely going to meet again, at least in 1 degree. And it's an entire year of that. Okay, that thing which we already had Saturn Neptune meeting, okay, when Neptune was first in Aries. And so it's not a news to us. I'm trying to recall what was there. Oh, yeah. Um, well, that one is a personal experience, so I'm not going to share that. I think this conjunction has been talked about for quite a while. So much so that now I just let that conjunction be and allow my colleagues to say their words. um, Mars Again, opening synodic cycle with Saturn, April 19. Mars-Neptune conjunction, so everything, Mars, Mercury going through Neptune, going through Saturn. Mars-Saturn is not easy. Mars-Neptune as well can be dissolved action or having to surrender, taking action, but then from that moving and opening a cycle where we do take action, and very soon, between April 13 and April 19, there may be immediate implications to the actions that we take, which is a very good thing when it comes to feedback loop. Okay, we can count on between April 13 and April 19 to have a very good feedback loop regarding the actions that we take. Because April 19, Mars meets Saturn, which means we see the implications of our actions. And this tells me that if anybody has to launch a product, again, I'm not saying that a stellium in Aries is necessarily going to be that, but let's say Scorpio ascendants, if you have to launch a product that you want to have an immediate feedback loop to, particularly if you've been planning to launch it for a long time, this could be something that you might want to find an election that is compatible for you, because this could definitely be busy launching, but you're going to see the results immediately. Anything that depends on immediate results. I'm not a big investments astrology expert, but this one could look like something like a window for shorts, because it's something that you just begin and there's an ending, there's a deadline, there's a window to with Saturn and something, but I'm not an expert on exactly. I don't even think there are free of extortion called investments. And by the way, this might be the implication. This might be the implication. More things if you want to separate, because Mars also rules separation. So self-assertion, separation will immediately meet the implication, or if something needs to come to an end, then Mars Saturn can definitely bring upon that ending. Quite, particularly if something that we already wanted to end, that can bring about that ending. So if there is an action we wanted to commit to, my best advice is to wait until April 19, because April 19 Mars opens the synodic cycle with Saturn, and you would be more up to speed with the new structures or the new regulations, or even the ability to stand the test of time of what you desire to accomplish, so, or invent. And that can be as of April 19. Mars sextiles Uranus April 8, right upon the ingress. Venus squares Pluto April 3rd. So this is the hard aspect of Venus and Pluto from degree 5, which is the home degree. Okay, it's Venus is at home in Taurus. And she's strong in Taurus, which very likely means that Venus might have something to teach Pluto. Um, Venus is in Taurus is embodiment, is connection to the senses. Um, so it's a different type of intelligence, and in that square of Venus and Pluto, both are transformed. However, um, we cannot expect Pluto to control Venus successfully when she's so embodied. Saturn is already in Aries, which means that what's deriving Pluto is to assert its sovereignty, but if it does so by enslaving, okay, it can run the risk of even unconsciously doing something that could enslave another, and their Venus um, is embodied, which means that embodiment is beyond sovereignty. Sovereignty is where there is the I am, and then we already have being. Okay, I am is to do you versus to be you. So if Aries is to do, Taurus is to be. And so Saturn ruling over Pluto tries to do something to assert the I am, but Venus is already showing Pluto this is what to be is like. And this can also be the source of the challenge between them because Pluto is still ruled by a planet that needs to do oneself, or to need, if Pluto is the you, then Pluto still needs the to do you, or do you is more compatible with where Pluto is at, where Venus is like, this is to be. Aries says I am, Venus is about being. And so I think Pluto is going to have challenging time understanding Venus embodiment, and Venus needs to remember that Pluto is seeking to assert an I am. Um, and of course, that I am cannot threaten her sense of embodiment, but it doesn't seem like Venus is threatened. It seems like Venus is embodied. That can perhaps threaten Pluto, that can be trying to assert its own boundaries and sense of self. And um, this is where the width of Aries, which is honoring one's own sovereignty and others, um, can serve for Pluto to not be completely dumbfounded by Venus. Okay? Think about it. Venus is the lady wearing the natural scent that blends with the perfume she made. And 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 that can be overwhelming to the technocratic senses that try to assert an I am and feel disempowered in the face of the beingness of Venus. Um, but Venus is reminding um, that this is, and she doesn't speak in sovereignty; she speaks in embodiment. Okay, so what contributes good scent was also Venus talks Vulcan. Venus talks Sovereignty is good smelling.